Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office Director Baolong begins a 6-day visit to the city. Air raid siren and train service suspension in Hokkaido, Japan, as North Korea conducts a new missile test. And Joe Biden visits his ancestral town in Ireland. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Baolong, head of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, today kicked off his 6-day visit to Hong Kong, with much of his itinerary remaining under wraps prior to his arrival. Apart from meeting officials and members of the Executive Council, Xiao will reportedly visit underprivileged communities in Hong Kong. Jackie Lin with more.
Xiao Baolong, director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, reached the city at around 11 a.m. He was received by Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chan and Deputy Director of the Liaison Office Chen Dong. Little was disclosed about Xiao's official itinerary in Hong Kong beforehand, and a top Beijing official overseeing the city's affairs was escorted by traffic police officers along the way. His first stop, the country's Foreign Ministry office in Hong Kong. It's understood Xiao had lunch with Chief Executive John Lee there. In the afternoon, Xiao reportedly met SAR officials and Executive Council members at the Chief Executive's office. Apart from Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Eric Zhang and Commissioner of Police Raymond Siu, also captured reaching the central government offices were convener of the Executive Council Regina Ip, Executive Council members Arthur Lee, Martin Liao, and Jeffrey Lam. Xiao will attend a dinner hosted by Chief Executive John Lee at Government House. Basic Law Committee member and lawmaker Priscilla Leung said Xiao's visit this time bears much significance to the city. She believes Xiao will engage in a wide array of work to take the pulse of Hong Kong that would help set the tone for the city's future development. During his stay in Hong Kong, Xiao will attend the opening ceremony for the city's National Security Education Day set for Saturday. Reportedly, his itinerary will also include visits to schools and universities, as well as wet markets to understand more about life and small businesses here in Hong Kong. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
It's been around 3 months since the Top Talent Pass scheme was introduced. Among some 20,000 applications received, the government has approved nearly 12,000 applications. Secretary for Labor and Welfare Chris Sun revealed the latest figures in a newspaper article he wrote. He said the scheme has well exceeded authorities' expectations in popularity. Nearly 80% of the successful applicants are below age 40, and half are under 30 years old. Around 22% reported a yearly payroll of more than 2.5 million Hong Kong dollars. Visas have also been granted to more than 8,000 dependents. The Labor chief said these dependents will also contribute to Hong Kong society. With Hong Kong returning to normality, the aviation sector is looking to fill up its manpower shortage through recruitment drives in the short term. The sector aims to initially hire 25,000 people and an additional 70,000 after the 3-runway system becomes fully operational. The industry had also urged authorities to consider importing foreign workers as a solution to the lack of manpower. Timothy Lee tells us more.
It has been several months since the airport resumed full operations, but the number of flights and travelers tell a different story. Commercial flights and their passenger volumes have only reached 60% and 40% of their pre-pandemic numbers respectively. Lawmaker Frankie Yick from the Transport Functional Constituency, along with representatives of several sectors, identified manpower shortage as a primary reason for the aviation sector failing to reach target numbers. The airport authority estimated that as of now, around 53,000 individuals work at the airport, compared to 78,000 prior to the coronavirus pandemic. A spokesperson for an engineering company working with the airport believes the aviation industry will need to hire 20,000 people in order to reach pre-pandemic levels of operation. But he added that recruitment may be difficult given the location of the airport from the city center. Meanwhile, some have criticized the airport's high operational costs, and in its current financial state, the airport will struggle to offer satisfactory wages. With the 3-runway system fully opening next year, an estimated 100,000 people will be needed to fill up relevant positions. Lawmaker Frankie Yick noted that the government can consider importing non-local workers, particularly from the mainland, to solve the manpower problem. He said the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge could offer efficient transport to the SAR for such workers. Secretary for Transport and Logistics Lam Sai-hung earlier wrote on a blog that the airport authority had already completed a manpower review of the airport and will roll out related measures later this year. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Members of the Hong Kong Bar Association today spent their second day in Beijing. Today, the 20-member delegation visited the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office in the capital. The association's chairman, Victor Dawes, said he had talked to representatives of the office's Department of Law. He told them an independent judicial system is vital to Hong Kong in maintaining its status as an international financial hub. Dawes added it is also important for the legal sector to understand the nation's affairs, policies, and laws to better serve the country. In the afternoon, the group visited Peking University before dropping by the country's top court, the Supreme People's Court. North Korea this morning fired what could be a new model of long-range ballistic missile, South Korea said. It triggered a scare in northern Japan where residents were told to take cover, though there turned out to be no danger. The South Korean military said it was on high alert, while the United States, in a White House statement, strongly condemned the missile launch. Nazvi Karim has more.
An air raid siren in northern Japan's Hokkaido island, followed by an evacuation warning. In its main city, Sapporo, screens at a train station tell commuters that services have been paused because of a North Korean missile that officials fear may hit the island. It turned out to be a false alarm by Japan's J-alert system. North Korea's first intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM, launch in a month saw what was possibly a new type of mobile weapon fall harmlessly into the sea between Japan and the Korean peninsula. But the fact that a rare evacuation order was even issued highlights the tensions that exist as Pyongyang continues its months-long testing of short-range and long-range missiles. The most recent launches are likely in response to joint US and South Korean military drills. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said he would hold a 4-ministerial meeting of the National Security Council, as well as check the reliability of the country's alert system. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Hirokazu Matsuno said North Korea's action was an outrage that escalates provocation to the entire international community and violates UN Security Council resolutions. On Wednesday, South Korea's Air Force conducted an aerial refueling drill with the KC-330 tanker pumping fuel into fighter jets while flying at 530 kilometers an hour. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
Meantime, Joe Biden made an emotional visit to both sides of the Irish border. In the north, the U.S. president spoke about the importance of maintaining peace. In the south, Biden visited the town where his relatives had lived before traveling to America more than 150 years ago. David Garrett has more.
When Joe Biden talks Irish politics, he speaks from the heart.
But the lesson of the Good Friday Agreement is this: in times when things seem fragile or easily broken, that is when hope and hard work are needed the most.
Biden speaking at Ulster University. Nearby, Northern Ireland's power-sharing governments collapsed after unionists walked out over a Brexit deal. Biden hopes he can unite politicians amid fears of violence.
So let's celebrate 25 extraordinary years by recommitting to renewal, repair, by making this exceptional peace the birthright of every child in Northern Ireland for all the days to come. That's what we should be doing. God willing, you'll be able to do it. Thank you all for listening, and may God bring you the peace we need. Thank you.
Next, south to Dublin and freezing rain. When asked about the weather, he remarked, "Hey, it's Ireland." Biden's next stop was Carlington Castle. It's thought this landmark would have been the last thing his great-great-grandfather saw as he left County Louth around 1840. As he looked out over the sea, Biden asked, "Why did my ancestors leave this beautiful place?" Then on to Dundalk. People lined the streets as he got a celebrity-style welcome. Well-wishers held signs saying, "Welcome home, Joe." The motorcade stopped and he got out to loud cheers. Biden walked along a street shaking hands. People seemed proud he shares their Irish heritage. He entered McAteer's Cafe and spoke to employees, the 80-year-old leader full of energy, making them laugh. He finished with a drink in a pub and talked about family.
I'm here with my sister Valerie and my youngest son Hunter Biden. Stand up, guys. I'm proud of you. And I wish our mom, Catherine Eugenia Finnegan Biden, were here today. She'd be so damn proud. You know, Louth held such a special place in her heart. Feels like coming home, and it really does. The way, every time I've come, the welcome, the people on the streets, they're just so gracious to us.
Biden rounded off a busy day, saying he'd like to do it all again.
The bad news for all of you is we'll be back. There's no way to keep us out, but thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you.
David Garrett, TVB News.
In the U.S., the second of two black Democrats expelled from the Republican-led Tennessee House of Representatives will return to the legislature after a Memphis commission voted to reinstate him. This comes nearly a week after his banishment for protesting gun violence on the chamber floor. This report from NBC News.
The vote happened in less than a minute.
The item passes.
Tonight, ousted State Representative Justin Pearson is headed back to his seat in the Tennessee State House. The decision was in the hands of the Shelby County Commission. Among the 7 members who showed up, a unanimous decision to reinstate Pearson, one of 2 lawmakers whose unprecedented expulsion has become a national rallying cry.
They tried to expel the people's choice and the people's vote. And they awakened a sleeping giant.
Last week, Tennessee's Republican-led House voted to expel Pearson and fellow Representative Justin Jones, both Democrats, after they broke House rules while protesting gun laws.
This is what democracy looks like.
Today, surrounded by a crowd of hundreds, both lawmakers gathered at the National Civil Rights Museum before marching with supporters to fill the commission chamber.
What does it say to you that so many people are supporting you?
Justice happened in the state of Tennessee today, tomorrow, and into the future.
Republicans say the expulsion was fair punishment for violating House decorum, speaking into bullhorns on the House floor. But critics say it sets a dangerous precedent. Now, a group of Senate Democrats are calling on the Justice Department to determine whether that expulsion violated the Constitution or federal civil rights, writing, unless the DOJ steps in, anti-democratic actors will only be emboldened.
Still ahead, Macron says France's position on Taiwan has not changed. And locally, 2 more ferry companies apply for fare hikes. Welcome back. French President Emmanuel Macron said France's position on Taiwan had not changed and that he favored the current status quo. He was speaking on the second day of a state visit to the Netherlands, which was marked with more protests following the new law that has increased the retirement age in his country by 2 years to 64. Tracy Furness has more.
Domestic policy in France followed President Macron for a second day in the Netherlands. As he arrived at the University of Amsterdam's Science Campus Wednesday, a protester rushed towards him but was tackled to the ground by security officers. The man was heard chanting a popular song against the pension reform. We are here, even if Macron doesn't want us, we are here. And while the French leader was with King Willem-Alexander on the university campus, protesters outside the university building held banners in Dutch that read, "Macron, dictator of big business." This is French unions have called on workers to walk off the job and join protest rallies on Thursday for a 12th nationwide day of protests against the bill that makes the French work longer. Macron took a boat trip in Amsterdam with Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte before they both attended a news conference where the French president clarified his position on Taiwan.
Et la même sur Taïwan, nous sommes pour le statu quo.
The position of France and the Europeans is the same on Taiwan. We are for the status quo. This policy is constant. It is not changed. It is the one China policy and the pursuit of a peaceful settlement on the issue. That's what I said one-on-one to President Xi Jinping, which was repeated everywhere. We haven't changed. He was clarifying remarks published from an interview with French newspaper The Echo and Politico Europe this week, which cast doubt on whether Macron's views were in line with the European Union's position on Taiwan's status. Macron wrapped up his two-day state visit to the Netherlands at a working dinner with the Dutch Prime Minister and members of their governments at Amsterdam's Rijksmuseum. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Britain's Prince Harry will attend the coronation of his father, King Charles III, next month. But his wife, Meghan, will remain in California with their 2 children. This sends months of speculation as to whether the king's youngest son will attend the royal event following his high-profile and stinging criticism of the royal family. Prince Harry stepped back from royal duties in 2020. King Charles will be crowned at Westminster Abbey next month in a ceremony steeped in pageantry and traditions dating back 1,000 years. The guest list includes foreign heads of state and other dignitaries. 2 ferry companies are seeking fare hikes of almost 50% and 100% for services to outlying islands. Some residents find the proposed hikes unacceptable. Mimo Singhai reports.
Amid a recent wave of public transport fare hike applications, companies running ferry services to outlying islands are the latest ones to seek approval from the government. Sun Ferry Services Company, which operates the Central to Changzhou and Mui Wo routes, has applied for a 45% increase in their fares. If the application is approved, the adult fare for weekday boat rides to Changzhou will go up from $14.20 to $20.60, and it will cost $24 to travel to Mui Wo. The company is also seeking a 45% fare hike for its inner harbour ferry services between North Point and Kowloon City and between North Point and Hong Kong. Meanwhile, Hong Kong and Kowloon Ferry has applied for a 100% fare increase for its services between Central and Sok Kwu Wan and between Central and Pengzhou. It is seeking to raise the fare for weekday boat rides from Central to Yung Shu Wan from the current $18.60 to $37.20. And on public holidays, the proposed fare for ferries going to Yung Shu Wan would be $51.80 and $65 for those going to Sok Kwu Wan. Many outlying islands residents find the proposed hikes unacceptable. This man, who lives on Changzhou, said the proposed fare increase is too much, putting a heavy financial burden on them. This Lemon Island resident is not pleased with news, as ferries are the only transport option for him to travel between the island and the urban area. Legislative Councillor Ben Chang called the ferry company's requests unreasonable, adding that fare hikes should be no more than 10%. Mimo Singhai, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.